Listen, I get it. Stepping into the world of project management can feel like navigating a minefield blindfolded, especially in your first year. But what if you had a map not only showed you where the mines were, but also revealed the shortcuts to success? Today, yes, I'm talking about today, we're handing you that roadmap. We're going to dive deep into the most crucial interview questions and answers that every first year project manager must know to not just survive, but thrive. This is just not advice. It's actually an insider secret that will captivate, or I should say, cultivate your novice to sought after professionalism in record time. Hey, listen, if you're aiming to ace your project manager interviews and skyrocket your career, you probably don't want to miss this for 1 second. Let's unlock the door to your success together. If you're new to the channel, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out here, that just simply means Ed. I have an 8-point framework, but today we're not doing 8 points. We are going 12 points as we attack today's title, which is entitled, Hey, First Year Project Manager. Here's some interview questions and answers for you. This is part 1. This is dependent on how this goes. This may be a 3-part series. First part, we're going to do a theory-based interview. What is a theory-based interview? Theory-based interview is going to be based around vocabulary, how you can tie back your vocabulary or the PMI ideology back to your everyday life. Part 2, we're going to do a non-theory based. This is going to be more of how do you talk about your experiences within whether you've actually done project management or something similar and tying it back to the opportunity. And then the third one, that one crazy question that I've seen stumble so many people up where they say, the interviewer asks, tell me something about yourself. And you can watch how people freeze up, but I'm going to show you how to attack that, and we're going to attack that with excellence and exceptionalism. So like I said, today is a different day, so we're going to see how much the family enjoys this and appreciate it. Also, I got something really amazing for you as well. If you really like this, I'm going to ask you to type project manager in the comment. Again, type project manager in the comment. Those who type project manager in the comment, what I'll do is I'll send you a link in which I want to give you access to the things that I'm discussing here today. Because again, I really think this is pertinent into this is your first interview that you're going on as a project manager. So with no further delay, let's unpack something that, and this is different, family. I promise you, I don't see a lot of people talking about this the way I'm going to twist this up. This is why I want to break it down in a 3-part series. So this first part, we're going to talk about the 12 principles of project management. What I told you before, I'll put a link if you guys want it. If you type project management in the comments, I will actually put that particular link where to get it at and everything like that. So you don't have to go scurrying all through PMI's website to get it. I'll do that for you. Also, if it's really good for you, I will unpack this in a way which you can have it in written form so you can actually review it. So like I was saying, reason why this is different, family, is because we're going to look at the 12 principles of project management. What are the 12 principles of project management? Principle number 1, stewardship. Principle number 2, team. Principle number 3, stakeholders. Principle number 4, value. Principle number 5, system thinking. Principle number 6, leadership, which that is a very important one. Principle number 7, tailoring. That too is very important. Principle number 8, quality. Principle number 9, complexity. Principle number 10, risk. And principle number 11, adaptability and resilience. And principle number 12 is change. Family, I'm going to show you how we're going to tie, because I'm going to tell you, if I was interviewing you, I probably would tie maybe about 3 to 6 of these principles into the interviewing questions, and you may not even catch it unless you watch the video like you're watching today. So I'm going to show you how we catch them. First point, or I should say principle, stewardship. Here's the question. How do you demonstrate stewardship in your projects? Again, how do you demonstrate stewardship in your project? How I would answer this as a first year project manager, I would say, as a new project manager, I see stewardship as my responsibility to manage the resources effectively and ethically. In projects, I normally use I'm more transparent about what's going on with the project, as well as with the team and stakeholders, about the resource allocation aspect, as well as, like I said it before, project progress. Here's an example that I do. This is what I would normally do. I would implement a transparent, again, family, watch what I'm saying. I keep using the word transparent. I would implement a transparent reporting system that allowed all project members and stakeholders to have real-time access to the budget, timeline information. This will allow everyone to foster trust, and it holds people accountable. All right, let's move in to the next one. But before we move into the next one, hey, family, also leave in the comments. I would love to know what's your single biggest challenge you are having when it comes to project management. All right, here we go. Principle number 2, question. What strategies do you use to build and maintain an effective project team? How I would answer that is, first of all, I recognize the team dynamics. I focus on creating an inclusive, keyword, family, listen to what I'm saying, keyword is inclusive environment where every team members feels valued and motivated. Early in my role, this is what I did to ensure that happened. I had regular team meeting activities. I also had feedback sessions, which by doing this allowed me to improve the working relationships as well as enhance our problem-solving capabilities. I learned that effective communication and recognizing individual contributions are key to fostering a cohesive, productive team. Let's unpack that. Family, there were some key words that I said there that I want to ensure that you model. One of the first things that I said that was key was inclusive. The next thing that I said is I made the team feel valued and motivated. And then I gave an example of how I made the team feel valued and motivated. I hosted regular team meetings. I also hosted feedback sessions. And then this helped improve our relationships, would also enhance our problem-solving capabilities. As you know, as a project manager, one of the major things that a lot of hiring managers are looking for is someone that can solve a problem. Can you solve a problem with your team? And by how you just answered that question, that is a good example of how you're incorporating your already minimizing what they're thinking about. Oh, well, wow, he or she just answered that question I didn't even get a chance to ask how they solve problems because I outlined it under when they work with teams. Excellent response. All right, here we go. Principle number 3, stakeholders. How do you manage stakeholder engagement in your project? Listen, we all know that stakeholder engagement is extremely crucial. This is what I do. I adopted a proactive approach by mapping out all stakeholders and their interests at the beginning of the project. I then established regular communication channels, such as maybe I've leveraged newsletters, I've leveraged Teams, I've leveraged sending out meeting minutes to keep the stakeholders informed and involved. This approach actually helped me manage the stakeholders' expectation and gather valuable feedback, ensuring that the project remained aligned with stakeholder needs. Okay, now let's park here real quick so we can unpack that. Here's some key things that I said. First of all, I talked about my communication style. How am I going to ensure that the stakeholders are engaged? Well, first of all, I'm going to connect with them in Teams, or I'm going to send out a meeting recap. I could even potentially send out newsletters if we really want to take it to that next level. But the whole goal of all of this communication is ensuring that, number 1, that I'm keeping them informed. Number 2, I'm keeping them involved. And the most important, if you don't remember anything else when you give this response, is you are managing their expectation. We all know frustration comes from a lack of expectation. So let's move on to point number 4, value. So How do you ensure your projects deliver value? Great question. I love that. Well, this is how I ensure that projects deliver value. I start with understanding the stakeholders' needs and project objectives. I always work closely with the stakeholders to define a clear, measurable goal for the project. By implementing a more of agile mindset, here's an example. Like I've leveraged agile mindset, so because I had to meet changing needs with regards to priorities. And by doing this, I was ensuring that the project remained focused and delivered the highest value outcome. So let's stop and unpack this. So what I'm saying here, family, is that a key word is that I basically defined a clear and a measurable goal for the project. And normally you'll get all of this. There may be a follow-up question to this, and they'll say, well, how did you know, and where did you document? A lot of this will be documented in the first piece after your business case, which would be your project charter. You should be able to get this from the project charter when you're working with the team. By the way, family, again, like I said before, if you're really enjoying this content, please type in the comments, project management. And what I'll do is I'll send you these principles. All right, point number 5, or I should say principle number 5. Systems thinking. Can you provide an example of how you apply system thinking in a project? Listen, system thinking has helped me really understand the interconnectedness of project elements and their impact on the overall outcome. Here's an example. For one project in particular, I used this approach to identify bottlenecks in the workflow that was causing delays. By doing this, and by doing this particular by analyzing this, I was able to implement a more efficient process that improved project flow, and it also reduced delivery timelines. So let's stop right here and unpack that. So first of all, I talked about the importance of having an interconnectedness of the project elements to the overall outcome of the project. See, I didn't talk about results. I talked about outcome. And then I gave an example of a project that I've led. If you haven't led a particular project in that particular area, think of something that you've done where you basically changed how a workflow was done, or I actually done that as a business analyst before, even as a project coordinator. So I know that is possible. So I talked about how talked about the system that I created, which offered the opportunity. Here comes the value, family, that allow for a more efficient process, as well as it help reduce the delivery times and it improve the project flow. All right, let's move on to value, or I should say principle number 6, leadership. Message. This question right here is going to be very extremely important. So please, family, pay close attention to this. Reason why I say that is because one of the biggest things that I've watched when you ask project managers about leadership, sometimes they think it's about control, and leadership has nothing to do with control. So watch how I unpack this. Watch how I unpack this question. Describe your leadership style and how it impacts your project. You know, my leadership style is more of a collaborative and supportive style. I truly believe in empowering the team members by delegating responsibility and providing them the resources needed to succeed. This approach not only builds trust, but it also encourages innovation, which leads to a creative solution that positively impacts our project outcomes. I also understand that when you are leading a project with a collaborative and supportive approach, you also have the opportunity to inspire and motivate your team to want to go further than they normally would. Let's stop there. Reason why I use the 2 key words of collaborative and supportive. When you use a word of like collaborative, you're showing that you are big on not working on silos. You are big on working with the team and not against the team. And when I use the word supportive, I'm saying, hey, I'm here to support you. I am definitely here to lead you, but I don't want to be a micromanager. I don't want to be a task manager. I want to be a leader in which I say, this is what we need to do. What are the timelines associated? How do I move any impediments out your way? How do I help you prioritize? My goal is support. You're the subject matter expert. I'm here to support you to make sure you look good at the end of the day. All right, let's move on to the next principle. Principle number 7. This is important too, family, because principle number 7 is tailoring. Reason why this is important is because of the fact that you're going to go into a lot of different, if you worked in various organizations, let me just put it like this. Every organization is not the same. What do you mean by that, ED? Good question. Some organizations follow the PMBOK from beginning to end. You have some that, use particular aspects. Because again, the PMBOK is the standard. That doesn't mean you have to do everything in the PMBOK in order to lead a project. So you may go to organizations that may not have a initiating phase or initiation phase or a planning phase, or but they're going to have an executing phase. They're going to have monitoring and controlling. And again, you don't know what you don't know. So this is why you may have a lot of interviewers ask you this question, because they may say, "Hey, we don't have proper project management governance here. So we know you just got your CAPM. We know that maybe you have a lot of information. I know it's only your first year, but you may be able to help us," which is another great thing. So here's the question. I'm sorry, family. How do you tailor project management practices to suit your project environment? I've been asked this question before. Let me show you how I responded to this question, by the way. I said, excellent question. What I normally do is I tailor my project management practices by assessing the project unique characteristics, such as scope, complexity of the actual project, and what the stakeholders' needs and expectations are. Normally for small projects and with a quick turnaround, I normally like to streamline documentation and communication process to increase the agility of leading this particular project. Now, again, even though this is a tailor approach, I still like to ensure that we are responding quickly to changes without being bogged down by unnecessary procedures. So what am I communicating there? I'm communicating that basically, if this is somebody that has project management experience, they know I'm talking in terms of Scrum or basically agile, of an agile mindset. So again, being able to tailor your project based on where the organization is at from a governance or project management, where your stakeholder is at, because that's another thing. There may be project management governance in place, but the stakeholders may not be so much on board with it. So, all right, let's move on to principle number 8, quality. What measures do you take to ensure quality in your project? Another excellent question. What I would normally do, this is how I would respond to this, family. To ensure quality, I implemented a robust quality management plan that includes regular quality audits and stakeholder reviews throughout the project lifecycle. Now, this plan really allows me to identify and address quality issues early and often, in ensuring that the final deliverables meet and or exceed stakeholder expectation. Why did I respond that way? The reason why I responded that way, let's look at the key points. First key point that I want to call out is that what I implemented. I talked about what I did. I implemented a robust quality management plan. Quality management is a plan under planning. There's 49 out of the 49 processes, 24 of them are located in planning. So I understand that the interviewer should know that, oh, okay, so you basically created a quality management plan. Okay, that's good. But how did you show me? I mean, there's one thing to create an artifact, but how did you use that artifact and then get caught up in the administrative aspect? Because that's what they're thinking. Well, this is what I did. I identified and addressed quality issues early and often, ensuring following deliverables. So those key words, early, and often, letting them know we're not just doing it, once a quarter or once every other month. No, we're in this quality management plan consistently to ensure that we exceed the deliverables. All right. Principle number 9, complexity. I told you there's probably not one video out here like that. If there is, I apologize. You're in great company, or we are in great company together. Okay, complexity. How do you manage complexity in your project? Now, this is another game changer. I said changer, because managing complexity, when someone asks you that question about how do you manage complexity in your project, they're testing you to see, how do you handle stress? How do you lead a project where there's so many moving parts? Great question. This is how I would respond, and this is what I recommend to you. Managing complexity involves breaking down the project into manageable parts and closely monitoring the interdependencies. I use project management software to track these elements and adjust strategies as needed. This allows us to anticipate and mitigate potential issues and/or risk, keeping the project on track. Let's stop here and unpack this. So what I was saying to the hiring manager was, listen, I don't care about the complexity. Complexity doesn't really, this is the translation of it. It doesn't mean anything, because I'm going to take all of that complexity and we're going to break it down in pieces. Once we break it down, we're going to put it in a project management software, whether it's a Microsoft project, whether it's a smart sheet, whether there's a plain view or something of that nature. This is going to allow us to keep the main thing without losing sight on the rest of the various tasks and or milestones. All right, let's move on to number 10. Number 10, or I should say principle number 10. Describe your approach to risk management. Wow. Okay, well, here's my approach to risk management. It's very simple, it's very easy. It's proactive instead of reactive. You see, at the outset of the project, I conduct a thorough risk assessment with my team to identify potential risk. When we are in meetings, the first topic on the agenda is we talk about any new or existing risk. Then we develop a mitigation strategy for each identified risk, incorporating them into our overall project management plan. See, this proactive approach has helped us avoid numerous pitfalls in projects that I was leading, as well as ensuring that the project was an ultimate success. Now, let me unpack this for you real quick. I said something that was very key, and this is what you want to use when a risk management question comes up. Always continue to remain proactive. Why do you want to be proactive? I know it sounds like common sense, but even though it's common sense, sometimes we can miss it or we can get too comfortable. Being proactive is constantly putting this in front of your stakeholders, allowing them to say, hey, any particular risk are we missing? Let's have a risk brainstorming session to make sure there's nothing that was missed, and constantly checking in. Hey, and I don't care how small or big or whatever the risk is, because you never know what could happen. Because, a risk is an if-then statement, meaning if this happens, then this is going to happen. So always keep that in mind, family. And then I also talked about, in my response to that question, is how we develop a mitigation strategy approach when we identified the risk, and how we talk about these risks every team meeting or every meeting that we have. That's the first agenda topic. All right. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm having fun doing this. I feel like I'm on an interview right now, but I digress. All right, here we go. Principle number 11, adaptability and resilience. Here's the question. Can you give me an example of when you had to be adaptable and resilient in managing a project? Again, this question here is testing your stress level. This question is seeing how far have you been pushed before in leading projects. So here's my response. In one of my first projects, we faced an unexpected regulatory change that impacted our project scope. But let me tell you how we responded to that. We quickly reevaluated our project plan and we engaged with the team in multiple brainstorming sessions to adjust our approach. This resilience in the face of change allowed us to meet our project objective despite the challenges. All right, now let's unpack what I just said. What I just said is that one of the things I always think that I know when you are in interviews, you want to put your best foot forward. But can I be honest with you? You want to be able to sprinkle in every now and then some area. I call them areas of opportunity. Some people call them mistakes or failures. But one of the things of when you talk about, I'll just use that context, mistakes or failure, where you said, hey, we ran into a mistake, and there was a regulatory change that impacted our project scope. So of course, most people may have just been like, "Ah, man, it's too late. We can't be adaptable. We even blew it. No, 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 no." What we did is we went back and reevaluated the project plan. We also, which I should have mentioned as well, is went through the change control process after we came out our brainstorming session to really adjust the project scope to meet the new regulatory change. All right, let's move into the last and final principle, which is change. How do you manage change in your project? Great question. Here's my response. I manage change by establishing a flexible project framework that accommodates adjustments while maintaining the project integrity. Okay, here's an example. For example, there was a situation where we had to have a change. So I got the stakeholders together. We had open dialogue. We ensured that the change that was going to be required, we documented the change. After we documented the change, we all agreed on it via all the stakeholders that were involved as part of the project. I don't care how much involvement they had, as to all the way up to a huge commitment to the project. After we got sign off and agreement, we went through the change control board, in which we went through that process to get a sign off so we can potentially change whether it was our scope, cost, or time, as well as quality to our actual project. These processes really allowed us to manage the project more effectively and ensure each way of the step was documented. So let me stop there. One of the biggest things, family, is when you have to make a change in your project. A lot of people don't like making it, especially if you're leveraging a methodology like a waterfall methodology. And reason why people don't like to make, the stakeholders don't like to make that change, because especially if you work in a good organization that has good change management, they're going to hold you accountable to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, which is excellent. Exceptional project managers love that. Average project managers hate that. So I love it, of course. And so reason why I say that is because what they don't understand, this allows you to really keep a great documentation. If somebody ever came and poke holes at the project to say, well, why did y'all make this change halfway through? You could say, well, here's the information. We documented it from the beginning, meaning our brainstorming session, all the way up to the approval of the actual change. All right, family, here's my 3 closing remarks, and I'll keep it brief. I know I kept you guys for a while. First one, tailoring. If you don't remember anything, you want to be able to answer that question. And if you don't recall, it is, how do you tailor your project management practices to suit your project environment? Again, once you get your first project management job or first project coordinator job, and you're at that organization, let's say you decide to move to another organization, the organization you just left and the new organization they're going to be 2 different organizations, unless they're connected in some kind of way. But there's not been one organization in my decade of years of experience in project management that was the same when it came to project management. Yes, they had a PMO. Yes, there were some similarities in governance, but the governance was totally different. I've been in governance where it was by the book, and I mean literally by the book, which is great because that's why you go and get your CAPN. That's why you go and get your PMP. All right, the next point is the leadership question. This is huge. Your leadership is always going to be tested through the interviewing process. So when that question comes up, describe your leadership style and how it impacted your project. You always want to talk about being collaborative. You want to talk about being supportive. You want to talk about being in the midst of everything, but not being in the midst so much that your stakeholders can't go and do what they need to do, which is execute on the project. And the last and final point is the stakeholder question. How do you manage stakeholder engagement in your project? When you're in the initiating phase, the first two that you see in that particular phase is your project charter and identifying stakeholders. So being able to answer the question, how do you manage stakeholder engagement in your project, is going to be key. Reason why it's going to be crucial, because you want to lead with context like, I adopt a proactive approach by mapping out all the stakeholders and their interests at the beginning of the project. Family, I hope this has been helpful. If you really do, if I get enough likes and enough views on this, I'll make those part 2 and 3. I want to make sure this has been valuable for you. Let me know it's been valuable. If you do, again, there's more coming, because I really enjoy this, just that question and answer back and forth, and how I would address the question if I was a first year, whether a project coordinator or project manager, either or. I really truly hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Until next time, this has been your boy ED, and I'm gone.